Welcome back, Twisters, and hey there, hockey fans. Nick here, and today we're going to be talking about Evander Kane and how the San Jose Sharks could possibly move on if his contract is terminated by the NHL. So I'm going to get into that momentarily, but of course, if you're new here, I invite you to hit the red subscribe button down below and join the Twist Brigade as we march toward 2,000 subscribers. So, per sources, several of Evander Kane's teammates have not wanted him to return to the team. This is coming from Kevin Kurz of The Athletic. Of course, he does a fantastic job reporting on this and the San Jose Sharks. So this is something that had surfaced after exit interviews in this past season. And then Frank Saravalli from Daily Faceoff had said that the Sharks were actually trying to trade Evander Kane. And Kevin Kurz also had checked on that and can confirm that a source did say that. So the Sharks have been looking to move on from him. He has 4 years left on his contract at $7 million average annual value. And he's coming off 2 really good seasons production-wise with the Sharks. So the team would be missing quite a lot if they moved on from him. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kane is currently under investigation by the NHL. His wife has alleged that he has been betting on hockey, and there's a lot of other drama surrounding him and his wife and his child. I won't get into that. So now let's look at the San Jose Sharks here. So I believe that it would be possible for the league to possibly ban Kane if he's found guilty of betting on hockey. I don't know if the Sharks would forfeit a draft pick or incur a cap penalty if his contract was terminated for those reasons. I don't think so, though. However, if he's not found guilty, the Sharks really find their hands tied. So they've been exploring the possibility of trading him. He has a modified no trade clause with so that's just 3 teams that he said that he could be traded to. He would have to waive that for the Sharks to explore some more options. I don't know if the Sharks could just simply put him on waivers without incurring some sort of penalty there as well. So really, this is a tough situation for Doug Wilson. Another possible scenario is the Sharks actually buying out Kane if the league hasn't banned him. So I actually computed what a buyout would look like with cap friendly. As you can see on the far right column here, $1.833 million in dead cap. So that would be dinged against the Sharks this upcoming season. And then look at the 3 seasons after that, 3.83, 2.83, and 4.83. So that right there is like over $11 million in just dead cap, and you have to figure out factor in the Jones buyout here. And the Sharks, looking at 2022, already find them in a pretty tight spot. So right now, the only big contract they have coming off the books in 2022 is Tomas Hertl. And of course, he's maybe the best player on the team, so they do want to extend him, especially as a prospect like Thomas Bordeleau is still developing. And in addition, they need to sign Mario Ferraro, who's pretty much a franchise defenseman in the making, in addition to Nikolai Knizhov. So looking at this current offseason, the Sharks have $5.53 million approximately. That's according to Cap Friendly. That does not factor in Hayden Hill and Noah Gregor. So the Sharks are hoping to come to terms with both of those players. Then let's add in the $7 million from Kane's contract. If his contract is terminated, the Sharks would have approximately $12.5 million. And as I mentioned before, just considering the cap crunch in the 2022 offseason, it's not like they're going to go out and spend $7 million to replace Evander Kane. They need to get a little bit more cost effective there. This is a tricky situation. I think the Sharks need to go the route of free agency if they want to fill the void for Evander Kane. It's not like they have somebody they can bring up to fill that spot already, unless William Eklund? Nah, I don't think that's exactly reasonable at this point. Anyway, I've got 6 free agents here who have yet to sign deals. The first one I think is going to offer the best performance to price ratio out there, and that is 26-year-old Dominik Kahun, who is not tendered by the Oilers. Now, Kahun has bounced around a couple of teams in just 3 seasons, but he has been quite productive nonetheless. You look at the 2 seasons before this past season. So with the Chicago Blackhawks, his first season, he's averaging just over 14 minutes of time on ice, 37 points in 82 games, okay? That's not bad for someone who's playing third-line minutes. He followed up the season after that with 27 points in 50 games with the Penguins. So third-line minutes, a guy who can score almost at, a point every other game, more or less, who's 26 years old, in his prime. He's Czech-born, so I imagine he could play with Tomas Hertl and have some good chemistry there. I think the Sharks should make an offer for him. I'm surprised that he isn't signed yet or snatched up, but maybe there's something I don't know about him. The next player I want to talk about is the big tuna. That is Tomas Tatar. So another check forward to maybe play with Tomas Hertl. He's coming off a deal where he was earning $5.3 million a season for 4 years. And with the Montreal Canadiens, his last season was not good at all. He ended up with 10 goals and 20 assists for 30 points. That sounds pretty good, but the team didn't even have him playing in the playoffs each game. He only appeared in, I think, 5 games. The 2 previous seasons with the Habs, 119 points in 148 games, plus 26 ratings. So that's all pretty good. But he's really a pure offensive player, and that's okay if you get him for a fair deal, something around $3.5–4 million. Evander Kane, though, provided more value than just that. He could kill penalties and force turnovers. He was a threat on breakaways and in transition just because of his speed. So he had quite the skill set, and that's what really justified the $7 million the Sharks were spending on him. The next player I'll mention is Kyle Palmieri. He is 30 years old. His past deal was $4.65 million over the course of 5 seasons, or that was the average annual value. He had 5 consecutive seasons of at least 24 goals with the New Jersey Devils, and he would average about 10 power play goals a season during that stretch. Last season, though, was definitely a dip for him in terms of productivity. Of course, the Devils have kind of forged a new identity, I want to say, with their young forward group. So Palmieri played in 51 games on the season, just 10 goals and 11 assists, and of course he was traded over to the Islanders. But I think a fresh start for him would be pretty nice. A guy who could maybe make about $3.84 million for a couple of seasons in teal. We would gladly take that. The next player, and this is a little unconventional, but I love this guy, truly. Casey Cizikas from the Islanders. Now, Cizikas is a center, so what would probably happen is Tomas Hertl would move to wing. He's done that before. That would be okay. Cizikas is really strong on the draw. He's coming off a deal in which he was netting $3.35 million a season for 5 years. Now, traditionally, he is a third-line center, but he does offer a little bit of upside offensively. So he had 20 goals and 13 assists in the 2019-20 season. But that was a little bit of an outlier because his shot percentage was 18%. It dropped back to 9.7% this past season. Nonetheless, though, I like Cizikas. Even though he's not traditionally a second liner, he's a third liner. He can still kill penalties. He can block shots, forces turnovers. He hits. I think he'd be a decent signing. And the Islanders, there isn't any real confirmation that they're working a deal out with him. 2 more players left. So first of all, Zach Parise. I know he's 37 years old, and he was scratched a whole bunch in this past season with the Wild. He appeared in 45 games, just 7 goals and 11 assists for 18 points with a +7, playing mostly third line minutes. But you do have to consider that 2 seasons before that, 25 goals, and then he had a 28 goal season as well. So he could still have a good year or 2 productivity-wise. Think of somebody like Jason Spezza when he went over to the Maple Leafs and kind of resurrected the later part of his career. And he had been reported to be working out a deal with the New York Islanders, but nothing has come of that just yet. And then lastly, I'll talk about Nikita Gusev, right? 29-year-old who was on a 2-year deal at $4.5 million average annual value. Now with Gusev, again, kind of like Palmieri, this last season was not good for him. He had just 2 goals and 3 assists in 20 games with the Devils and a -12 rating. 13 goals and 31 assists for 44 points in 66 games with the New Jersey Devils. And he also chipped in 5 goals and 10 assists on the power play. So again, kind of like Palmieri, somebody who can play pretty well on the man advantage. So anyway, those are the 6 free agents that I have in mind for the San Jose Sharks if they do move on from Evander Kane. But I'm curious to know your thoughts about this in the comments below. So if the Sharks are able to reclaim that $7 million for the next 4 years, what would you do if you were Doug Wilson? Do you extend Tomas Hertl? And do you keep your top 6 wingers in LeBanc and Meyer, or do you try to dangle them for somebody else? I talk about the Sharks quite a bit on this channel, so stay in the loop by hitting the red subscribe button and the notifications bell. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and I'll see you Twisters around for more coverage of the San Jose Sharks. You guys have a great one out there. Once again, I'm Nick, and I'll catch you Twisters later. Ciao.